Time to check in now, as we do every Tuesday, with Dr. Joe Schwarz, host of the Dr. Joe Show, Sundays at 3 p.m. on CJAD 800. Dr. Joe is also director of the McGill Office for Science and Society. Dr. Joe, you want to talk about the science of tires today?
Hey, I do, David.
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good.
So
Listen,
tires and science.
The people are concerned justifiably about microplastics and nanoplastics, because when you throw away your water bottles and your plastic bags, eventually they degrade, and they degrade to a size that you can't even see. But those little particles end up in us because they end up in water, they end up in food, and therefore they end up in us. We're not sure what they're doing, but there's probably nothing good.
Right.
But anyway, what doesn't get talked about as much, which in fact is a bigger problem, are automobile tires. When the tire hits the road, well, something happens. You know all those skid marks that you see? Well, that's remnants of a tire, right? And every time that tire turns, a little bit of its components rub off. And those are also macro and nano size. And tires are very complicated in terms of chemistry, all of the things that go into there. And again, that's something I think people are very surprised to find out. They think tires, rubber. Well, no. There are dozens and dozens of different components in tires. Rubber makes up about 40 to 50%. And then you have oils in there that lubricate the rubber. You have carbon. That's why tires are black. That gives it strength. You have silica. And then you have polymerization accelerants, and you have preservatives that ensure that the rubber doesn't react with ozone, which is present in the air, because that would degrade it. Well, all of those eventually rub off, and they get washed down by rain into water, or they, of course, get into the air, and we inhale them. And we got tires inside of us. So the question is, what is all of this doing? Well, so far, there's no certain answer to that, because we don't know anything more than that they're there. However, when I look at the molecules that are there, they raise the alarm by their molecular structure, because many of them are related to a compound called paraphenylenediamine, which is a carcinogen. And the carbon that is in the tires contains polyaromatic hydrocarbons, and those are the same kind of things we worry about when we barbecue. So there are a lot of nasty compounds that come off of the tires. And this is why companies, tire manufacturers now are really working on trying to somehow change the composition of tires so that we don't have this kind of worry. But it's a very difficult thing, because obviously you want the tires to last a longer time, because if they last a shorter time, then you have the disposal problem, which is another issue. And then the question is, how some of these chemicals get into our food. And there's a study that just came out, and it's got a rather interesting title: Uptake, Metabolism, and Accumulation of Tire Wear Particles Derived Compounds in Lettuce. So,
in lettuce?
In lettuce. So here's what the researchers did. They took some of the stuff that rubs off of a tire, which, this is exactly what is really happening every time that the tire hits the road. And they put it in water with which they watered the lettuce. And then they tested the leaves of the lettuce. And some of these compounds were there. So the lettuce took up the compounds. So this is happening outside of this study as well, because these rubber particles get into the air, and rain will take them to agricultural fields. So we are probably eating rubber from rubber tires whenever we eat vegetables. Now, again, I don't want to panic people about this at all, because we don't know that this has any consequence. Just because something is there doesn't mean it's doing something.
But it can't help.
Right?
Can't help.
It's really unlikely to be therapeutic, Yeah, but and then electric cars exacerbate the problem.
Oh, because they're heavier.
They're heavier,
right?
So of course the tires wear faster, so you get more of these tire wear particles that go into the air. It just goes to show you that there are all kinds of risks in life. And it's difficult to know exactly which ones we need to worry about.
But there's a consequence to everything. That's what I'm hearing,
There is.
It's
always...
Everything hits something else, affects something else.
The old story of a butterfly flaps
exactly
in China. Yeah.
And you have a hurricane in France.
There is some truth to that, because we're all connected in some way. And we live in such a chemically complex world. There's so many substances to which we're exposed. As I've mentioned many times, you just take a sip of coffee and you're getting over 1,000 compounds. So the number of compounds naturally occurring that we take in every day from our food is just enormous.
Oh, I know. When I was environment minister, I used to get readings sometimes from the composition of the water in the St. Lawrence, and the microplastics content were incredibly high, and
absolutely.
And so these tires are contributing to this for sure. The only favor I'm going to ask you is, please do not repeat this until after the Grand Prix, all right? Keep it between us so we can have Grand Prix week, because there are a few tires being burned there.
Oh, boy, that's a whole other story. I mean, as I told you, there's a lot of science that goes into the tires on our cars. But that's nothing compared to the science that goes into the tires for F1 cars.
And there's billions of dollars a year that goes into research for those tires.
What are they? $2,000 for a set of, or for each tire on a car?
It's incredible.
And what I tell you, what is really incredible is the speed at which they change them.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That there should be a study on that.
I mean, it's less than 2 seconds.
Yeah, I know. It's fascinating.
If I hadn't seen that, I would say, no, that's not possible. You cannot change 4 tires in less than 2 seconds. But you absolutely can. And that's teamwork and they practice like athletes.
Absolutely. Look, I'm trying to make a bit of light out of this, but but it's still serious stuff. But I think it's important. It's important to bring up these great elements. That's what I love our conversations. You make us see things that need to be seen. Dr. Joe, always a pleasure.
Even when you can't see them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you do. You make us see things we can't see. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Take care. Dr. Joe Schwarz, host of The Dr. Joe Show, Sundays at 3 p.m. on CJAD 800, and director of the McGill Office for Science and Society.